Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for the week that's a little bit stuffed up, so I do apologise for that. But I am Lucas Holland, and I am joined, as always, by the lovely Karl Smallwood.
Hell, goddamn, yeah. And I see Stitch behind you, just chilling.
Stitch and Wiggler, they're always just there, waiting behind me. That's moral support.
Growl Stigler, let's go.
And of course, the Wiki Weekdays podcast, both Karl and I bring a wiki to discuss for the week, and we just basically ask all of you guys to listen through, and at the end, decide which wiki won this week.
Yes, www, let's go.
And of course, you can find us both on podcast services and on our YouTube channel. And just remember to, like, subscribe, share on YouTube, give us a rating on podcast services. Any of that stuff just really helps us out.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what else helps us out, Karl? That's you bringing a wiki for us.
Actually having a wiki, yeah. So, since we're in spooky month, we're midway through October now. Now, spooky month is well and truly underway. So I thought I would pick the spookiest of spookies, Lucas. And we're going to talk about It the Clown. Or Pennywise the Clown, aka It the Creature.
Okay,
Do you know why, Lucas? Because spooky clown.
I know, I mean, all clowns are spooky, Karl, though.
They are, yes.
But it's like, I wasn't sure whether it was actually the name of anything or that's just the name of the movie. But
it is the name of the creature, which sometimes takes the guise of Pennywise the Clown.
Okay.
And have you, how familiar are you with the lore of the It series?
So, I'm only really familiar with it through, pop culture osmosis.
You're not the biggest horror fan, right?
I'm not really into horror movies or anything like that. So, yeah, I have not watched any of the It franchise. I'm very familiar with the iconography that is Pennywise the Clown and the little floating red balloon.
Do you know who else was it? The people who made the remake, because fucking hell, do you get tired of Pennywise by the end of that? Because that's the thing. People might not know this. It's in the original novel by Stephen King. It only assumes the form of the clown every now and again. It's actually this entity from beyond the stars that feeds on the fear of children and actually just looks more like a giant rubber spider, which is what it looks like in the original TV movies, where it's just a big rubber spider. But do you know that thing that Hollywood has done where it'll just take one thing, one bit of iconography, like you said, from the original? What's the thing people know about the It movie? Well, it's Pennywise the Clown. Put all of our eggs into Pennywise the Clown's basket. It's that's...
Yeah, because that's the thing. If you asked me, as somebody who has never watched It, what do you know from that franchise? It's I know of Pennywise the Clown. Great, so make the entire franchise around Pennywise the Clown then. Yeah,
to the point where I think for It Chapter 2, the remake version, they went back and they reshot stuff with all the kids in the first movie, just to put more Pennywise scenes in. They just shot random extra and used CGI to de-age them. Because obviously by that point they're all aged 2-3 years, and they were no longer kids, they're teenagers. But they wanted more spooky clown footage, so they went back and literally reshot it. But anyway, It is the titular main antagonist in Stephen King's 1986 horror novel, It. The character is an ancient, trans-dimensional evil entity who preys upon the children, and occasionally adults, of Derry in Maine, roughly every 27 years, using a variety of powers that include the ability to shapeshift, manipulate reality, and go largely unnoticed by adults. That's the thing, did you know that It could do any of this, or did you think it was a clown?
I knew it could shapeshift, but manipulate reality?
Yes, because one of the best things about the series is the visuals in the TV movie and in the the remake, which is okay, but I think you just lean too hard into spooky clown stuff. But one of the scariest and most unsettling things is that adults can't see what Pennywise or It is doing. There's a bit where it just caused this fountain of blood to explode in this little girl's bathroom, and her parents walks in and what are you doing? So I'm cleaning, and what do you mean you're cleaning? There's nothing here. So she just sees a bathroom covered in blood, and her parents what are you talking about?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that thing of the kids think they're going crazy.
And just before we get more into It specifically, can we just talk about how the fact that Stephen King was the only person who wrote books for 20 years, apparently? Yeah. Just every time we discuss any movie from the 80s or something, it's the Stephen King thing.
Well, the joke is that the co-author of all of his books was cocaine. And that's a joke that Stephen King himself has said. It's Cujo, Another one of my favourite like horror books, horror films, like just about a big dog that bites people. Stephen King doesn't remember writing Cujo.
No.
Because he wrote it on a cocaine binge in a weekend. And his publisher just rung him up one day and was like, "Oh, Stephen, we love the book." He's like, "What book?" He's like, "You sent us a manuscript about a dog called Cujo." He's like, "I don't remember writing that." And it's like, what? He just went on a cocaine binge and wrote one of the best horror novels of the last, 30, 40 years.
That must be one of, the most wholesome, drug binges of just, he'd just get really high and just start writing books and sending them out.
Well, it's what he'd do, yeah. He'd write, it is the one notable exception to that rule of Stephen King, where he spent years writing it. He just kept coming back to it and coming back to it and coming back to it. And, if you've not seen the original It novel, it's, this thick. It is ridiculous. It's 3,000 pages. That's why the movie has to be 2 parts. We say here, so during the course of the story, it primarily takes the form of Pennywise the Dancing Clown. The Losers Club becomes aware of Pennywise's presence after he kills Bill's little brother Georgie, and that's the bit where you see him in the sewer with the balloons that we all float down here. King stated in a 2013 interview that he came up with the idea for Pennywise after asking himself what children feared more than anything else in the world, and feeling that the answer was clowns. And it's right though, isn't it?
It's so true, and I don't know how clowns have become so pervasive as a kid's entertainer, because they're terrifying.
Well, did you see there was oddly enough done in Sheffield? We have the Children's Hospital here, right? The Sheffield Children's Hospital. Which, fun fact about the Sheffield Children's Hospital, has a mascot which is a bear with it's got an injured eye.
But it's not Pudsey the bear.
It's not Pudsey, and there is another British charity that's Children in Need, which their mascot is a bear that has an injured eye, because that's a pretty base, and it's a pretty basic mascot for kids are injured, kids like teddy bears. The teddy bear's got a boo-boo, look, we're helping the teddy bear. Children in Need sued the Children's Hospital in Sheffield over the rights to use that image, until it turned out that Sheffield Hospital had it first. And they agreed to settle their differences out of court, because it wasn't a good look for a charity for children to be suing a hospital for children with cancer and terminal diseases.
I love the idea, though, that it was completely fine up until they realised they're the ones that could get sued.
Yeah.
And it's no, this would be ridiculous. Let's just settle this.
Anyway, the Children's Hospital, they have a lot of research done there on ways to make the hospital stays for children less scary. One of the studies they did was about creating things like teenage wards. And there's a story told of there was this teenage 14, 15 years old. That age, you get some pretty adult looking 14, 15-year-olds, can't you? And it's but you can't put them on an adult ward, because the adult wards are depressing as fuck, but you can't put them on the kids ward. Because there's a story of this teenager who had cancer, and he was on a cancer ward for kids, but some guy walked in what's he doing here? My 4-year-old daughter's here, what's that man doing in this ward? And it's that is. So they come up with the idea, wards for teenagers, for example, because it's, believe it or not, folks at home, if you are stressed, your recovery is kind of ruined a little bit. And one of the study... Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, the thing that made my hospital visit when I had surgery as a kid was just walking down the hallway to a PlayStation 1 with Soul Blade on it.
Yeah, that's one of those things that they do. You need something to distract the kids. And one of the studies that Sheffield Children's Hospital did is the motif that you put in wards. So for adults, it's just you want it clean, you want it pristine. They don't really give a shit. Kids, they find a very sterile, completely neutrally coloured environment unsettling. Say, okay, so what would they like painted on the walls to put them at ease? What colours? And during the course of their study, literally every single child asked said they found clowns scary. Every single one. And you had actual clowns saying, no, it's not. That's not accurate. Because we go to hospitals and kids love it, and it's no, they're just terrified to tell you.
Yeah, is it that they just grin and bear it and then just hate it the entire time?
Yeah, and admittedly, Pennywise is a very scary-looking clown in both of his incarnations, which, for anyone who doesn't remember or isn't aware, the original, in 1990, the television adaptation, was played by Tim Curry. The legend that is Tim fucking Curry.
God, I love Tim Curry.
Did you ever see there's that great interview? There's a role that he was going to get. No, I think it was the Joker. He originally auditioned to play the Joker in the animated series before it went to Mark Hamill.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were asked, like, is it true that Tim Curry originally auditioned to be the Joker? And went, yeah. It's like, surely Tim Curry was a bigger get than Mark Hamill at the time. Actually, no, Mark Hamill's like scat, but Tim Curry's like a better voice actor. He was. That was the problem. He was too scary.
Oh,
because Tim Curry was fucking terrifying in his audition. Like, he's too scary.
So that's, like, in my head, I was like, Tim Curry makes perfect sense for the Joker, especially, like, voice acted, animated Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that sounds great. And it's like, yeah, he was just too good.
Yeah, and then we have played by Bill Skarsgård in the 2017 film adaptation and its sequel. And just when I found out, it was like 50 Skarsgårds. Like, we're just part of this like dynasty of Skarsgårds.
But is it just that it's a very popular name? Is that all it is?
No, they're all related.
A lot of them are, okay,
yeah. Like, nepotism knows no bounds. But yeah, so, like, just, oh god. Like, like, Tim Curry is so good as Pennywise. And, like, Skarsgård did a great job. And there's that, like, really great behind-the-scenes image, if you've ever seen it, of, like, in the sequel. Bill Hader he's talking to Skarsgård in this, like, candid shot they got. Yeah. And apparently, like, the conversation that ensued is Hader was asking Skarsgård, like, how do they get, like, your eyes to do that thing you do in the film? Like, Pennywise's eyes, like, disconnect and fly around the joint. And Skarsgård just says, oh, I can do that for real, watch. And he's in full Pennywise outfit and he does it. And he's in the shot, like the series of shots, you see Bill Hader start to run away because he's scared of clowns.
Oh, that's great.
Say that King thought that a troll, King thought of a troll like the one in the children's tale, 3 Billy Goats Gruff, although he imagined it living in a sewer system rather than under a bridge, and that it was a clown instead of a troll. So that was the inspiration. Like, kids are scared of clowns. I want to imagine it like, the troll living under a bridge, but instead of a bridge, it's a sewer. It's a sewer clown. And to be fair, if I saw a clown in the sewers, I'd be like, fuck going in the sewers.
Can you imagine, though, it being the UK version, where it's like, he's just trying to get you to come through, like, the grid instead? It's like,
in the UK version, you have to deal with all those fatbergs. You ever seen that? People don't know, in the UK, like, we have this big problem, literally big problem, of people, like, flushing fats down the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, fatty diets are causing what are known as fatbergs, which are just, like, because obviously fat it's not soluble in water, and it's meshing with, like, those bum wipes that people use that aren't supposed to be flushed. Mm-hmm. And they're creating, like, double-decker bus-size blockages in the sewers that people have got to go down and poke through with sticks.
Yeah, because obviously people will never listen of, like, don't put the wipes down the toilet. Like, don't put your oils down your drain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let your oils harden up and then put them in the bin. It's like, no. Let's not do that. Let's just pour, like, nice hot oil down our drains, and then it just blocks up everything and fucks it all up.
Now imagine it down there. Like, I hate it down here. Like, you know what, though? They do float. So, appearances in the original novel. It is a shape-shifting monster who, as mentioned, usually takes the form of Pennywise the Dancing Clown, originating in a void and the surrounding universe, a place referred to in the novel as the Macroverse, something they wisely cut out of the television and movie adaptations because it's fucking stupid. Because, like, the original thing says that, oh yeah, do you like the universe being on the back of a big turtle? That's where it comes from. Yeah. It's an extra-dimensional monster from the Turtleverse, and everyone's like, shut up. Just cut that out.
You don't, like... I don't feel the need when it's like, oh, weird horror monster, to actually explain where it comes from. If anything, yeah, it just makes it more stupid.
What's the general rule of thumb when it comes to horror is the more you explain about a monster, the less scary it becomes. Because horror and fear generally comes from the unknown. And even if, like, you can say, like, if you're scared of, like, for example, sharks. I'd be scared of a shark if I saw one. Like, but the real thing you're scared of is the fact that there might be a shark there. That's the unknown aspects. Like, oh, you're scared of the dark. It's because you don't know what's out there. Scared of spiders. You don't know what the spider's going to do. But, like, with a horror monster like it, you don't know what its purpose is, where it came from. But when the novel just tells you, oh, it's an extra-dimensional alien from the Turtleverse, you're like, fuck this. Anyway, it arrived on Earth during an asteroid impact and made its home under the land upon which Derry would later be constructed, initially preying on North American tribes. And I love the idea that he kept the clown outfit while preying on Native Americans. And they're like, the fuck is that? Or you just see like Lakota tribes or something like that. What the fuck is this weird clown thing?
Like,
you knew the white man was trouble, but this is the whiter man.
A clown's not a thing yet, guys. They not hit your universe yet.
It arrived on Earth. Oh yeah, there we go. So it slept for millions of years, and then, when humans appeared, it awoke and began a feeding cycle lasting about a year, feeding on people's fears and frequently assuming the shape of whatever its prey feared the most. And that's where the novel is really interesting. Of like, it's not just like it, and this is what makes it so funny, like, you know, with modern context of everyone fucking hating clowns. The reason it assumes the form of Pennywise the Dancing Clown is because Pennywise the Dancing Clown is non-threatening. And that's something they actually do in the original. In the original, like Pennywise, Tim Curry, he has that amazing ability as an actor to go between being like quite jovial, quite friendly, welcoming, and then he can just turn it on in a second and be like frightening as fuck. And that's the idea. It's like it assumes the form of Pennywise the Clown. Pennywise, oh look, it's a fun clown dancing with a balloon. And then in the remake, Pennywise is terrifying from second one.
Yeah.
Which is not the point. The point is that he's supposed to assume that form to be non-threatening, to lower the children's guard.
He's like luring the children in with Pennywise, right?
Well, that's the thing. If I send you the picture they use on Wikipedia, like look at Tim Curry as Pennywise, and then look at Skarsgård as Pennywise. Like Tim Curry, like he looks, he's a little bit scary because he's a clown, but you see him, don't you? He's like the bright, colourful thing.
He's scary in the sense that clowns are inherently scary, but he's not got like a scary face or expression or anything like that.
No, and then you look at the Skarsgård one, and it's fucking terrifying. And that's like, the people making that movie didn't realise that was the point of the book, even though they presumably read the book, or at least watched the original movie.
You would hope.
Yeah. Well, either way, and it says here, so it would then, after feeding, it would resume hibernation for approximately 30 years before reappearing. As a preference for children, since their fears are easier to interpret, and adults more difficult to frighten while it is in a physical form. It can manipulate the weak-willed, making them indifferent to the horrific events that unfold, or even serve as unwitting accomplices. And that's the thing of like, that's why it targets children, because children, their fears are very basic, and thus easy to manipulate and take advantage of, whereas usually it's why it targets children who are victims of abuse or bullying, because their parents are indifferent to their suffering.
And
so it's real easy to pick on those kids.
It was like the kids were from the Losers Club.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of kids who get picked on.
Yeah, so exactly, like, that's already a bunch of vulnerable kids, right?
Yeah. It says, in the novel, it claims that its true name is Robert Gray, but decided to be named It. Throughout the novel, it is generally referred to as male, usually appearing as Pennywise. The losers came to believe it may be female after seeing it in the form of a monstrous giant spider that lays eggs. However, its true appearance is only briefly observed by Bill Denbrough via the ritual of Chewed as a mass of swirling destructive orange lights known as the Deadlight, which inflict insanity or death upon any living being that sees them directly. And that's like, quite, Cthulhu-esque. Like to look upon it is to witness madness.
Yeah, and I immediately went to Mimikyu because it's like if you see the actual form of Mimikyu under the Pikachu disguise, you're meant to die instantly.
Yeah, it's very Lovecraftian-esque, isn't it? It's like
Cthulhu, Mimikyu, they're about the same.
It's a form beyond human comprehension. And so its natural enemy is the space turtle, another ancient dweller of King's Macro. Oh god! Speaking of giant monsters, a fly just come in. The raisin. The turtle created the known universe by vomiting them out as a result of a stomachache. This turtle makes cameo appearances in the Dark Tower series. That's why they leave it out. Of just like it's not necessary. It's stupid and it bogs down what is otherwise a pretty interesting horror premise. If it's a creature that preys on, it's weird that it's one of the simplest premises of it is a monster that can turn into whatever you're scared of. And that's what it wants. But then the novel's like this thick.
Yeah.
Whereas like Stephen King is like the master of the short horror story, and this is a perfect vehicle for that, and it's his longest book. So throughout the novel, some events are depicted from its point of view, describing itself as a superior being, referring to humans as mere toys.
I mean, that's kind of, I think that kind of thing is fair enough in the sense of I still think that's worth keeping like the idea of that in the movie of like it's this like creature just it sees itself as beyond humanity and just it it doesn't care for these like lower forms. It's just to feed on.
Well, that's like what also makes it's the unknown, isn't it? It's this being where it has existed for an incomprehensible amount of time. Like its view of human life is the same as like a bacterium.
Yeah,
like, it's existed for such a long period of time that like the only way it can derive any sort of enjoyment is like from our own suffering.
Which, is I guess pretty messed up, but so is the things that we do to animals. So
yeah, and that's like one of those things. There's a really great. I'll see if I can track it down like during the break. There's a really great like description of the difference between fear and terror. I'll try and break like Lovecraftian terror. I'll try and like break that. I'll try and find that during the break because it's fucking like harrowing to read and it's a really interesting way of summing it up. But yeah, that's the It character. It says in the television and film series. It is portrayed by English actor Tim Curry. It also has a cameo appearance in Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yeah, because why not put It the Clown and characters from A Clockwork Orange in a kids movie?
Yep.
Why not? It makes perfect sense. I wouldn't mind though if it was like they bring in all these characters to dunk. Like if Pennywise the Clown all of a sudden was part of a dunking competition in that movie, I'd start forgiving it.
Yeah, and like it's worth pointing out as well. Like you said, Tim Curry. Obviously, no one's going to approach his performance, but it is worth pointing out some of the stuff they did for the 2017 like reboot or remake. I forget what they billed it as, but. Like for example, Bill Skarsgård like is able to like manipulate his face in a way that is very scary. They also for one scene, which I think is one of the more visually impressive and like scenes that scares people, is where it climbs out of a safe, and they actually did that for real by getting a contortionist who was able to cram themselves into the safe and crawl out. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that they did that for real. Like they found a way to make this really unsettling visual even more unsettling because you look at it and how do you fake that? And it's like, it's not fake. That's a real person. That's like dressed like a clown, like contorted and snapping their limbs, or seemingly, to like crawl out of a safe.
Yeah. The stuff that you see from physical actors and a lot of contortionists and stuff, it's like it does look unreal at times.
There's a again. Let's see if I can find the film. I'll have to look it up after the fact now because there's another film they do and I forget the name of it. But basically, there is like it's like a cult and they're worshipping like some demonic entity and they kill someone as they're dancing.
Right.
And like the lady who plays the dancer who's being killed, basically all of her bones and limbs break as she's dancing.
Oh god!
It's like you're playing with a doll, but the person who's doing that is like a professional ballerina / contortionist. So she's actually able to do like throw her arms backwards and bend her limbs the wrong way around, and it is so painful to watch. Because they have these like long, lingering shots on her, like contorted on the floor with her limbs in uncomfortable, awkward, impossible positions as like the sound effects of playing breaking noises. And obviously she's fine, but you look at that and you're like, oh, you just don't like it.
That's the thing where you can watch somebody do that and it be uncomfortable, but then obviously the extra effects of like the audio design, as you say, and stuff, they just add that level of just horrifyingness to it.
Yeah, so the film is Suspiria. And if anyone wants to see it, just go to YouTube and look for the deformative dance. And be warned, it is incredibly unsettling. But that's a really good film. I just couldn't remember the name of it because I watched so many horror movies.
Yeah, I definitely know what that feels like.
But yeah, I highly recommend like go and watch that and just see like again, that's just an actual dancer / contortionist, just absolutely knocking it out of the park in tandem with like some phenomenal acting.
Yeah.
But I've got a few things here to like a few details maybe worth pointing out. Like so Pennywise is portrayed by Swedish actor Bill Skarsgård in the remake. However, English actor Will Poulter was originally cast, with Curry describing the role as a wonderful part and wishing Poulter the best of luck, but he dropped out of production due to scheduling conflicts. And I'm now thinking, like, Will Poulter, like, if people don't know Will Poulter, the guy with the eyebrows.
He was recently Adam Warlock in Award Guardians 3.
It's like, Skarsgård does have, like, a very strong face. He has very strong features. But I feel like Will Poulter might have been better because he has a softer face. Like he's got a rounder face. Will
Poulter's like the opposite. Obviously, not so much like now that he's an adult who's been working out for like a Marvel film and all that, but you look at him, when he was a young adult and he had such like soft, round features.
And that's what I think. I wonder how what would have changed depending. Would it have been closer to Tim Curry's? Because Tim Curry, he has soft features, but he has that great like characterful face. Like he's able to like manipulate his face so much more than like other actors of his time, and he has like the range of his voice. So I'm wondering how different that'd be, like Will Poulter with like the softer features. Would it have made like Pennywise look more approachable, and therefore been closer to like the original intention? Because like they cast Bill Skarsgård, they put him in the makeup and went, well, he's fucking terrifying already. So
that's the thing,
no one's
going to
believe that this guy be able to lure a child away without the child screaming.
Yeah,
to fucking make it scary the entire time.
He looks terrifying. Apologies for the dogs going ham.
They're scared.
They are. It's like they're trying to just scare away Pennywise.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to. He'll come get you. And yeah, that's like, and then there's like the last thing is the association with the 2016 clown sightings. You remember there's that weird period of time where there was just scary clowns with knives hanging around just as part of this weird, like, organic flash mob. Remember that? In just 2016 where the
internet
clowns
just decide to go and freak people the fuck out?
Yeah. Do you not remember that? Like, it's in 2016 where loads of people wearing clown costumes were running around with knives. Yeah, that was just a thing. And that's it. Do you remember like how bad 2016 was? Like that was the year where all the celebrities died and like everything went wrong, and we thought we can't get worse than this, than it did. But like one of the bookends to that year is that randomly there were just clowns with knives just hanging around and scaring people.
That sounds like a real easy way to get yourself killed.
A lot of people did get beaten up, yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people who got into fist fights.
Like, especially if that's happened in America. Like, if I saw someone just stood there as a clown with a knife in my back garden, I'd probably shoot them on sight.
Because that's the thing, they have, like, jokes like, we've got TikTok now, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, prank. Have you seen those ones of, like, they've got pranks where it's like, prank in big air quotes. Like, let's just walk into someone's house and see what they do.
Oh, yeah.
And there's, like, people getting the shit kicked out of them, like, well, it's just a prank, bro. It's like, you broke into my home when my children were present with a camera.
Like, yeah, that's just... it's like speed running the Darwin Award, isn't it?
It is indeed. But yeah, that's It the Clown. That's like I say, Pennywise the Clown, It the Creature. I use both interchangeably because the clown is so iconic an image.
Mm-hmm. Like, that thing is, before this, I wouldn't have known whether Pennywise the Clown and It were the same thing, or whether, like, it was just the name of the movie, etc., etc. But
yeah,
definitely one of the most distinctive visuals in any kind of horror franchise.
Might be one of the strongest like horror visuals in history.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there with like Nosferatu at the door, and Jason kicking his way down, or like Leatherface with his chainsaw, just Pennywise with that balloon.
Mm-hmm. We never got Pennywise or It the Creature in Mortal Kombat.
I do know they want to put it in. I know, like, one of the like Ed Boon has been teasing for years. He wants to make that horror movie game. Mm-hmm. So he said, he wants to put like Pinhead and Pennywise into a game.
Of course, yeah.
Now we've got the new one with a cameo system. Get Chucky in as a cameo. We could do it.
Chucky as a cameo would be great.
It'd be a great cameo, yeah.
It's this little kid with the knife just coming at your shins.
That's the one. That's the thing. There's a couple of like iconic horror movie villains. When you think about like Pennywise, 2 movies. On television, 2 television movies, not even like feature.
Is that all it was?
2 television movies, yeah. Wow. And that's how iconic the visual was.
Yeah.
That's how good Tim Curry was. Because he's the best part of that film. Like the first one's alright, because the kid actors are pretty good. But it's that problem of all the adult actors they hired for the second part are terrible. They are such bad actors, and they're not funny. And one of them's a comedian who wrote all his own jokes, and it's like, oh no, he's trying. He's trying.
Oh dear.
But still worth a watch.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll take a quick break while I try and just make sure that my throat isn't completely dying.
Like clear out your throat, yes.
Yeah. So apologies for any like coughing or barking that I've had on my end, but I'm trying to like power through and make content for free for you all. So
hell yeah,
forgive me.
So Lucas, we're back, and I did manage to find the thing I mentioned during my wiki entry.
Okay.
And specifically, it's the difference between terror and madness. Specifically, the definition of madness. And this comes from a Tumblr post of all things I use called Bramble Sand. And I'm going to read it in its entirety, verbatim here. People, especially games, get eldritch madness wrong a lot, and it's such a shame. An ant, for example, doesn't start babbling when they see a circuit board. They find it strange. To them, it's a landscape of strange angles and humming monoliths. They may be scared, but that's not madness. Madness comes when the ant, but for a moment, can see as a human does. It understands those markings of words, symbols with meaning. Like a pheromone, but infinitely more complex, it can travel unimaginable distances to lands unlike anything it has seen or witnessed before. It knows of mirth, embarrassment, love, concepts unimaginable before this moment. And then, it is an ant again. Echoes of things it cannot comprehend swirl about its mind. It cannot make use of this knowledge, but it still remembers. How is it supposed to return to its life as an ant? The more the ant saw, the harder it is for it to forget. It needs to see it again, understand again. It will do anything to show others, to show itself. Nothing else in this tiny world matters. This is madness. And I just thought that's such a great just example of that concept. People think why is it like this the unimaginable? Why would it be so scary? It's not like it's scary. It drives you to madness. It's now imagine you're witnessing your human life from the perspective of this eldritch being that has incomprehensibly long lifespan. It's able to view the universe on a scale hitherto unfathomable to humanity. That would drive you mad, wouldn't it? And I love that idea.
And did you say
an interesting bookend?
Did you say that was Stephen King as well?
No, that's Eldritch Madness. That's Bramble Sand.
Oh, okay.
It's just someone on Tumblr just got this thing. It's a breakdown of what the difference is between terror, horror, and madness. As in regards to Lovecraftian horror, it's it drives them mad. So does it drive them mad because it's scary? It's no, because if it was scary, yeah, sure, but madness is something altogether different. And I just really enjoy that breakdown of imagine you're an ant and you saw writing for the first time.
And not just saw it, but comprehended it.
Yeah, but then imagine you got shoved straight back into the body of an ant and can no longer use that knowledge. You would be driven mad.
I think that obviously it's very different things. But to me as a human, writing sounds a lot simpler than vomiting information into each other. Mm-hmm. The idea of chemically vomiting information into your mouth sounds like insanity to me. And I think that's how ants communicate, right? It's something along those lines anyway.
Well, there's that other thing, isn't there? There's that, I think it's there's a subreddit and there's a bunch of other communities that are all right. The idea of humans are space orcs. If you think about things that humans do seemingly just on instinct, imagine if you actually break down what we're actually doing in that moment, it's almost unfathomable to think about how complex that series of actions is. An example that often gets used is you can pick up a bottle that's completely opaque, and just by shaking it, know roughly how full that is. Mm-hmm. And that sounds simple, right? That seems like such an easy thing. You pick it up and you shake it. Okay, yeah. Now think about how many separate things are converging for you to just know that almost instantaneously without any sort of actual direct thought from yourself. It's just something you instinctually know. Mm-hmm. Or the idea that we can hear through walls. You can hear sounds produced airwaves because they bounce off of walls, or see things that are millions of miles away, or the fact that our bodies can recover from the most horrific of traumas and we can still keep going. We can gain sustenance from stuff that would kill other animals, sort of thing.
True, yeah.
But they're just fun thought experiments, and they're the kind of things like horror and sci-fi, and they're areas they like to explore, which is why I love those genres. But speaking of which, what have you brought to the table today, Monfrere?
I mean, I have brought obviously something as well, around the spooky season.
Spooky season, yes.
But I've definitely gone for something that's a bit more, so shall we say, on the shallow end. Okay. There's no talk about madness just or anything like that. There's no eldritch horror.
Okay.
But there are some spooky ghosts.
I want to watch spooky ghosts. Go on, tell me about spooky ghosts.
I'm going to talk today about the video game Luigi's Mansion.
Okay, what's the scariest thing ever?
Just, Luigi lost Mario. What's more terrifying than that?
Well, was that great bit, isn't it? It's like, hey, Luigi, stop getting haunted mansions, like, but they're free. He's like, you can't. It's like, they're free. They keep giving me houses for free. They're haunted, but they're free. That's like Lucas.
Well, there's a chance that the next free mansion might not be haunted, Carl.
Yeah, Lucas, as a millennial, if someone offered you a free house, but it might be haunted, would you take it?
I'd take it 100%.
I'd take it in a heartbeat. It beats paying fucking rent, doesn't it?
But it does. And yeah, I love the idea that it's like, but yeah, they're free. It's a free mansion. I've won a free mansion. It's like, okay, but it's on the top of clearly a spooky haunted hill. But it's a free mansion.
It's free, isn't it? It's like there's that great. I think it's like imagine if aliens came to Earth right now, and they came in like, we're going to take over the world, and like, okay, what are your demands? Okay, we're going to slaughter your leaders. We're going to harness all of your natural resources and force you to work. And it's like, okay, so what's the difference? So if aliens came to Earth tomorrow and said, we're going to incinerate all of your leaders, 99% of people are like, sick, get on it.
Yeah, let's go.
We won't give a shit.
Can you take out the billionaires while you're at it?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. But, not only, is this mansion haunted, it's filled with gold. So, win-win.
It's even better,
It's filled with ghosts, but it's also filled with gold, and it's free.
It's a good deal.
Take it.
It's a good deal. It's like, it reminds me of I hate those would you rather questions where people just don't comprehend how hard up some people are. It's like, would you? And it's like, well, does it involve money? It's like, yeah, okay, yeah. The answer is yes. It's like, oh, would you endure some minor inconvenience for the rest of your life to never have to worry about money? It's like, yes, because the biggest inconvenience in my life is lack of money. Like, there is no limit to it. It's like, would you lose a limb for this amount? It's like, yes, of course I would, because I'd just buy a new one. People really don't understand how much of a motivator money is for literally every aspect of everyday life.
Yeah. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion, and then it says Japanese, and then Luigi's Mansion, is a game released in September 2001 as a Nintendo GameCube launch title. It initially started off as a tech demo, but the producers decided to make it a game, presumably because they didn't have something with Mario for launch.
Imagine if it had I want Luigi's Mansion, and I want Mario's Mansion, and I want that to be where Mario Party happens, and just you look next door and see Luigi, oh god, there's ghosts everywhere, and Mario's just chilling in his pool. I sure do love being Mario.
And I really enjoy the kind of twist that Luigi's Mansion has of it took Luigi, who, for the most part was the palette swap second brother that nobody wants to play as, or he had a bit of characteristics in terms of being a bit of the slippy and slidey character and a little bit taller.
He's a guy on Tinder where his personality for years is he's slightly tall.
Yeah. And no, this just characterized him a lot more, made him, the star of his own franchise, and associated him with kind of this, horror quote unquote franchise, the kids horror game.
It did give him much more personality. He made him admittedly his personality is not great. He's scared, but then he's also courageous, because courage is doing something even when you're scared. And even though Luigi's terrified of his ghosts, he still goes and saves the day.
And I find this quite funny. It marks the second time where Luigi is the main character, with Mario being trapped, following Mario is missing. So it's every time is, oh, Luigi's a protagonist, it's because Mario's not there.
When are we just going to have, I want there to be a series of games that tell us what Luigi was doing when Mario was doing, Mario Sunshine. I want, they should, why is there not, a puzzle game that's just, or a management sim that's Luigi trying to run the Mario Bros. Plumbing business when his brother's missing?
Oh, God. And, that's one of my favourite things about, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, is that you go through your game and Luigi's never a party character, but Luigi is there. And every time you meet Luigi, he tells you, about like the next grand adventure that he's just been on.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
Like how he's just saved the day off screen, but then you speak to his party members and they're all like, not sure it's quite how that went down, but yeah, sure, Luigi, sure, you do you.
To be fair, like, imagine living in that guy, like the shadow of Mario, where he is the most famous man in the world, married to a princess, a quadruple, quintuple, septuple Olympic winner.
I mean,
he's a doctor. Imagine, like, when you go home for, like, Thanksgiving, and you're talking to the parents, like, oh, so Mario, this year became a doctor. He's like, yeah, shits and giggles in between the Olympics. Luigi, what did you do?
Hey, there's a Dr. Luigi game now.
Is there? Okay.
One came out on like the Wii U at some point, and it might have been something to do with the year of Luigi. I can't remember.
It's like, yeah, Mario's the one who's like he's got the doctorate. He's the one who invites everyone to the karting races. He's a professional like international fighting star, and then Luigi's just there.
I mean, the one thing they've both got is that they both can't get the princess.
They can't. No.
Like Peach is not getting shackled down by Mario anytime soon.
You see
it's like in Mario Odyssey when Mario saves Peach at the end, and it's like, oh, like, are we gonna get married? And Peach's like, I'm off on my travels.
Yeah.
Fuck you two. Like, I don't want to marry either of you.
Single female lawyer, let's go.
Oh, but the game is notable for its dark tone, but a parodical take on a survival horror gameplay, as well as debuting the series staples Professor Egad and King Boo.
Oh, so King Boo comes from that game then? I always thought, surely there was a King Boo in one of the 2D games. Or was that just a Big Boo?
There's Big Boos, but there's not King Boo.
Because that was always like the thing. It's like Mario lore is so weird in that sense.
Of like, it's similar with like Piranha Plant.
There's
Piranha Plant is the just generic Piranha Plant, like the one in Smash Bros. Is just Piranha Plant.
Yeah.
And then you've got PC Piranha, that is a character that is a big Piranha Plant. Mm-hmm. But that's a specific one-person character in the series of like Mario, similar with King Boo, and they're both like Mario Kart Double Dash characters, for example.
Okay, so who's your favourite like big Mario villain, and why is it King Bob-omb?
Oh, so King Bob-omb's great.
King Bob-omb's so good. He's just a bomb with a mustache. It's like, ha! And then you got sumo wrestling. Sumo wrestle a bomb with a mustache, and it's the first level. That's the first level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I adore King Bob, and just like coming back of like, I'll definitely beat you this time, and Mario just picks you up again and throws you off a mountain. It's like, oh. But I do respect King Boo. Just, I think King Boo might be like the only Mario villain to actually just straight up defeat Mario.
Yeah,
because the entire premise of Luigi's Mansion is that Mario is been trapped by King Boo, and Mario was defeated, and you have to save Mario.
Yeah, Luigi's got to come in, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. That's like one of the subtle allusions to that Luigi might be stronger and better than Mario, because he's certainly faster. He's faster, he can jump higher.
And to be fair, though, Mario didn't have the Poltergust.
Yes.
So Mario didn't have the equipment needed to defeat a ghost, whereas Luigi did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Just, it says here, I'll briefly touch on the plot if like people aren't actually aware of what happened.
Luigi inherits mansion. It's free!
So it's like Professor Elvin Gadd, known as Professor Egad, because like Egad's meant to be like an exclamation of being
like,
scared.
Egad's a ghost!
Yeah. They were studying ghosts and had developed a method of capturing malicious spirits and trapping them within paintings via the usage of the Poltergust 3000 and the Ghost Portrificationizer. I think that's the word. And using these contraptions, he manages to capture a large assortment of dangerous ghosts, putting them out of commission, seemingly for good. However, Gadd made an overzealous mistake when he tried to capture Boolossus, who just so happened to be the greatest ally of King Boo, supreme ruler of the Boos.
I love as well. Didn't you tell me? Is it like the Boo is based on some developer's wife?
So there's like a running joke of like apparently, one of the developers when they were making the Boo said like, "Oh, my wife is really scared around like people in public and really timid, but behind closed doors, like she's really scary." Mm-hmm. And like, you know, I don't think that's meant in like a horrible way. I think it's more meant like, you know, in a
she's
teasing way.
she's very demure and quiet in person, but you know, behind closed doors, like she can be quite scary. It's like, no, I don't believe that. Look at her, she's over. It's like, no, she behind, yeah. That's like the way Boo's like when you face them down, like, you know, they're fine, they're timid, they'll run away. As soon as you turn your back, they'll get you.
And basically King Boo just like then storms Egad's laboratory with a Boo army. And then King Boo used his magic to then conjure a monstrous mansion for the ghost to take residence in. King Boo then hid inside with his fellow Boos, took advantage of the situation in an attempt to capture both Mario and Luigi. And then following this, King Boo sent out a false prize voucher for a mansion. Despite having never even entered a contest to receive said mansion, Mario and Luigi were nonetheless excited, if a bit skeptical.
Yeah, I'd like, you won a free mansion. It's like, fuck yeah, free mansion.
Just all you need to do is send me £5,000 first as a deposit, and then you'll win your free mansion, don't worry. Totally legit. So yeah, Mario went to check out the mansion right away, Luigi lagged behind. During this time, Mario was captured with minimal effort. The ghost planned to surprise Luigi now that his big brother has been captured, so they hid in the storage room of the mansion. And then, obviously, the game ensues, where essentially Luigi then makes his way over to the mansion, gets surprised by the ghosts, finds Egad, and then gets all his equipment to go and save the day.
And kicks their fucking ass.
He really does, and it's one of those, it's not a massively long game. It was like a launch title again, derived from just a tech demo that was meant to show off what the GameCube could do. And
I miss those.
Yeah,
I miss when tech demos showcase like interesting things the console could do, like physics and mechanics wise, instead of just like, look at how pretty this looks. Like that Matrix one, it's like, look at how realistic this looks. Like, okay, but is it fun to play? No. It's like you're walking around inside the Matrix. Cool. Like, your movie's told that this sucks, so...
The one that we have brought up quite a few times, where it's like the Unreal Engine 5 demo, and people are like, this looks like the greatest game of all time. Like, I can't wait to abandon every other game I've never played to play this one game. It's like, it wasn't even a game. It was a pretty tech demo that has no game behind it.
But it's the joke we always make, isn't it? We always make reference to the Unreal 4 field, where like there was that period for like 5 years where it's like, this is what Mario looks like in Unreal, and it's him just running around on a grassy field with bad physics. It's like, okay, it looks shiny, it looks pretty, but is it fun to play? And the answer is no.
It's like, here's what Pokemon should be, and it's like one Charizard on the Unreal 4 field.
The generic staple field, yeah.
It's like, so that's what Pokemon should be now.
Well, it's basically what it is, isn't it? It's just a Charizard running around an empty box.
At least that looked good. Now Pokemon doesn't even do that.
But I missed those years. So we had like, was it Rock Band Ping Pong? That was a tech demo just to show off like their shading stuff in the physics engine, like Rock Band table tennis, Rockstar table tennis. I was confused.
Oh, right.
I said Rock Band Ping Pong. It's like, no, Rockstar table tennis.
I was like, what is Rock Band Ping Pong?
Sorry, I had multiple things in my head.
I'm now excited to see what Rock Band Ping Pong was. It wasn't a thing.
That was it like just Rockstar table tennis with a tech demo, wasn't it? Just to show off their new physics engine.
I think so, and then obviously they made that a game in itself, and a very well rated game at the time as well. And it goes through like, there's a big section here on the gameplay, but essentially it is almost a parody of like games like akin to Resident Evil. Oh no, Carl, I've lost you.
No, sorry. I thought it was an interesting conversation. I could go look up games that were tech demos.
What did you find?
The number one in 2006 as Rockstar Games Presents Table Tennis was demonstrating the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, the Rage engine, which they utilised for Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption. Which, good games. Sonic Unleashed was the first game to use the Hedgehog engine. I don't know why. Just reading the Hedgehog engine just fucking slayed me.
Oh.
Lucas, the Hedgehog engine.
The one that always gets me is not necessarily like that comedic, but just speaking of Resident Evil, is like the RE engine. Yeah. Okay, the RE engine came out for like Resident Evil 7, I think they started it with, and they use it for a bunch of Capcom games nowadays. And the RE engine, the Resident Evil engine.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the Resident Evil games are called Biohazard in Japan, where they made the engine. And it's like, no, it's Reach for the Moon.
Which is why it's a hand reaching towards the moon in the logo.
And it's not the Resident Evil engine, it's the Reach for the Moon engine. And it's like, okay, but it just so happens that the RE was used for Resident Evil, and so for years I was just like, oh yeah, the Resident Evil engine, and it's like, no, it's just a vague statement of like, reach for the moon.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I went off. I read Hedgehog engine. I couldn't keep it together.
And I presume another one that people will bring up is like the idea of Mario 128. The tech demo where there was 128 little Marios running around on like different warped pink surfaces and stuff. Like the idea of that got put into Pikmin. And it was like, where's Mario 128? It's like, well, can you think of another Nintendo game that came out around the same time where you had 100 characters on screen running around?
Yeah,
so it was Pikmin. But yeah, it's like they had for the gameplay just like an arcade-style camera system with controls that emulate those of a third-person shooter. Only instead of shooting a gun, the player is operating a modified vacuum cleaner, and then like also use the flashlight, and it's basically a system of like you shine your light on a ghost to make it vulnerable, and then use the poltergust on it,
which is a pretty common thing. I think like Fatal Frame is another game where it uses that one.
Alan Wake as well. Yeah,
it's a great way of just getting immediate like production value. Because he gets shot like just the light.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like it looks good, but then again, it's immediately puts you at a disadvantage. Because you can see, but you've got to stop moving, and you can only see directly where you're looking.
And they make really good use of lighting in that game. Of like a lot of the time, there's always a perpetual storm in Luigi Mansion, of course.
It would be one of the things it was showing off, wouldn't it? Like the lighting engine, the physics, all that stuff.
But that also means that through the windows, you get like the lightning coming through to occasionally shine light into the rooms occasionally, and like sometimes you'll see like secrets revealed when lightning comes through the window, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, what was that? And then you shine the light around the room. Again, the flashlight being a dynamic light, that really shows off what the tech can do. And they also had a few rooms where they use like big, massive mirrors to show off real-time reflections.
Yeah, isn't that as well like something as you've gotten older, you've really started to appreciate more of like lighting? I've seen like, I remember when we were younger, like Doom 3 came out, and like the big push for that was lighting, which wasn't. And then it's like, no, we want graphics, and now graphics are basically a solved issue. They're not going to really get much better. So now it's lighting. Lighting's the thing people want. It's like you do appreciate good lighting and good sound mixing in games now.
Like games running at like 4K, you know, how much more can we really get in terms of like actual physical details on an object?
Mate,
we're getting diminishing returns. It's not reached an endpoint, but diminishing returns.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when like MK1's trailer came out. People were like, wow, this looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the character models look fucking flawless.
Yeah, that game looks great, and
we've solved it.
It's like
it's done.
Yeah, sure, they can look a little bit better over time. Then they will. But there's no magical leaps that you get in between generations like they used to be, because, we've reached that law of diminishing returns on it. And it's always nice to see when a game isn't just focused on, like, well, the graphics are slightly better this time. It's like, no, we've now used the extra power for, like, cool physics engine stuff. And things like that.
It's like when we get asked, like, what game do we think looks the best? We say it's like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Where like it looks like an anime come to life, like stuff like that. Or like you always mention, like, is it Wind Waker, which is one where it has like basically they tried to do a HD port of it and realized, oh, we don't need to. The models are so good, we basically don't need to do anything to them because they look fucking flawless.
They basically just like changed the lighting, removed like the real thick lines on the cell shade, and went, this game really holds up. I don't know what to tell you. Just we don't need to completely remake this from the ground up. It just still looks good.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we'll move on to just reception and sales of Luigi's Mansion.
I imagine it's been quite popular. It's one of those series where it's like, people love Luigi. I've never met anyone who dislikes Luigi.
People don't... It's a weird thing, because if you ask anyone, like, what's your favourite Mario character, I rarely meet a person that says Mario, but people didn't want a Mario series game that wasn't like a 3D platformer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they wanted the Mario 128. They wanted Mario 64 on the GameCube kind of thing. And eventually we got Sunshine, and people were let down by Sunshine, and that's a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it was like, okay, Luigi's in the game, but people didn't want a launch game of like, oh, it's a parody on Resident Evil starring Luigi. They wanted a 3D platformer.
I also feel as well that like Luigi's a character where, because he's got, no one dislikes Luigi. You can be like, okay, we're just going to make a game that's a horror game. Let's not put Mario in it. That'd be too dangerous. If it flops, that's like it diminishes the Mario brand. Let's put Luigi in it. Luigi can have a couple flops. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I still find it funny. I mentioned earlier the year of Luigi, famously the worst financial year in like all of modern Nintendo.
Yeah,
and that's not Luigi's fault. It was just on the back end of like the Wii U being a disappointment, the 3DS starting to like calm down a bit.
It's that thing. It's symbolic, isn't it? Of like the worst year they had financially is the year they decide to like tout like the eternal understudy, as he's known, the constant second fiddle.
But it did receive overall positive reception, being praised for its graphics, design, gameplay, voice acting, and puzzles. However, it was criticised for its short length, with many stating it could be beaten in around 6 hours.
No, a 6 hour experience, that's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of replayability and enjoyment.
And as I've just mentioned multiple times, like with Resident Evil games, it's like, yeah, fun games that can be beaten in maybe, like, sometimes, if you on second runs and stuff, a couple of hours. And they're just, like, phenomenal games, but, yeah.
The game's a couple hours long and it's really fun. People will replay that game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've just got, like, a list of the things that have been shown off here, unless you've got, like, is there anything mentioned, like, the specific things it was designed to show off? So I've just got, like, a brief, like, checkpoint list of all the things that the game was designed to showcase. That the game was
no, I haven't. I does say here that it was awarded 2002 BAFTA Interactive Entertainment Award for Best Audio.
Well, that's one of the things it says here. So it was a test for stereoscopic 3D audio. It also was designed to showcase fire effects, water effects, ice effects, transparent effects, i.e., like, the glowing ghosts, includes like the translucent effects, the flashlight technology, the wind tunnel, and the cloth effects, because the wind affects like curtains and things like that. It also shows off the high poly count of the game by showing how round it made all the doorknobs. And they are like front and centre in a lot of scenes. The doorknobs are also supposedly a jab at Resident Evil and its dynamic loading cutscenes with locked doors, as you can skip them immediately, which has it's a quite subtle but nonetheless impressive showcase of how much faster loading is on a GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
You can see how good the impressively modelled these things are, but also you can skip it if you want.
Yeah, that's a really funny little jab.
It also showcases the full extent of the use of the controller, making use of the C-stick and the analog and shoulder buttons, which are integral to the gameplay. So it's just a thing, it basically showcases like every aspect of what the console can do, as well as all the features.
Yeah. And that's what I always love about kind of, the first year or so of a game console's like life cycle.
People get real weird with it, yeah.
You get a lot of experimental things that are trying to utilize all of the different functions of the system, and that usually ends up in a lot of bad games. But sometimes something like Luigi's Mansion like succeeds to show it all off. And
sometimes
I think the most recent example is Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, sometimes you'll get like a lair. Other times you'll get a Luigi's Mansion.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's really funny to me. Like, it's not an incredible game or anything, but the idea that the real knock on the game at the time was like, it's not Mario and it's short. And by short, it's like maybe 6 hours plus. And it's like, I don't really see those as massive knocks.
Again, as I've gotten older, I really appreciate games that don't waste my time. It's like, Ubisoft games, 100 hours of gameplay. It's, okay, so how much of it is pointless busy work?
Yeah.
75%? Cool, great, fantastic.
We'll just end on some trivia, Carl.
Let's go.
The ending of the game is similar to the endings of the Wario Land series. The more treasure collected, the more beautiful and luxurious the reward at the end. And in this case, it's what mansion you get at the end.
I want to see if you don't get any coins and you just get like a 1-bed studio apartment.
I can't. So Luigi's Mansion, different endings. Let's have a look.
It's like the worst ending is just him and Mario living in an apartment together.
What do you mean, like, in the movie?
Yeah. Why not use your accent no more?
Oh my god. The dogs downstairs are just going absolutely mental.
So I can't hear them, but yeah. Go Charles Martinet. Like his last role as Mario was Mario's dad. How fitting.
You're going around to rank. There's rank D, rank E. There's a tiny little house. Rank F. Okay, so even rank F, they get a little cottage.
Cool.
And it's like oh no, in the GameCube version they resemble. Oh wait, there's lower than rank F. What is this game? It goes down to rank H. I don't know why they didn't just stop with F.
Is that if you just don't complete the game? It's like Luigi just gets shot in the back of the head.
In both versions, there are rather small tents set up on the hill the mansion used to be on. So you just get a tent. In G rating, you get an extremely small 1-bedroom shack. So if you get an F rating gives you like a proper little symmetrical house. It looks like it's like maybe like a 2-bedroom house.
Well, it's one of those things as well, isn't it? It is like a game, but it's still that thing. Like the worst thing they can imagine is that you just get like a 1-bed house.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I wouldn't be mad if I got given a 1-bed house for free.
Yeah.
But of course, if you get like the A and S ranks and stuff, you just get like glorious mansions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just really funny to me that like the idea of like you fucking failed. What a failure you are. You get a 2-bedroom house.
It's like, take your house and get the fuck out. Like, take your free, tax-free house and get the fuck out of my sight.
I had one other note here as well that you mentioned the stereoscopic 3D audio.
Mm-hmm.
However, the game was developed with stereoscopic 3D functionality built in, and it was one of the only titles on the GameCube to have the feature. However, implementing such a feature was far more ambitious than Nintendo had anticipated. The planned peripheral that accessed the feature was way more expensive than they planned, so therefore it was scrapped.
That's one of those things, isn't it? Yeah, there's so many of those like features that just don't get implemented because they cost too much money to do.
Yeah, and it's literally the feature is in the game and it was just hidden in code so players couldn't access it. So that there genuinely is actual like 3D visuals built into that GameCube game. You can't access it without the idea of, I guess, hacking into the game and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that led into the fact that it was re-released on the 3DS and therefore they could utilize the 3D function of the game that was already coded in. But yeah, I love the idea that, like, the 3DS remake I don't think was, like, a spectacular remake or anything, but that was finally, 15 years later or something, we finally got to see Luigi's Mansion programmed in 3D like it was intended.
Yeah, like, the idea that just all those years ago they intended for that. It's like when you find out stuff like, just wait, they had this back then, it's like, yeah, just it wasn't cost-effective to implement it.
Yeah. It's just the work was done. It's in the game, but because the peripheral that would let you access it has been scrapped, it got scrapped.
Yep. And he's like, wait, you just you just have that. And so, oh yeah, we had it. We had it working. It was like there's a bunch of stuff like that where they just had some random shit working, and like no one can believe that they had it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of examples. Like, you know, I would recommend people go look up cases of it, but there's so much like unused content in video games that is left on disc. That is just stuff that was like working, and you know, bonus levels and extra modes and things like that are just on the game and just you can't access without hacking the game.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've been playing through Baldur's Gate 3 recently, and like there is like an entire extra half of the game. Like, keep in mind the game's like 100 hours long. There's like 8,000 unused lines of dialogue in the game, and entire quest lines that they just had to cut. Like to the point where like one of the main characters like has half their story missing because they just it's on the disc. We're just waiting for it to get implemented.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, that was Luigi's Mansion.
Hell yeah, it was Luigi's Mansion and the Hedgehog engine.
Yeah,
just, I can't get over I can't get over it. I can't get over Hedgehog engine, Lucas. Why?
I mean, that's the thing is, to me, I get more frustrated by like the RE engine. So I'm like, that means nothing. At least the Hedgehog engine, I know what it's being developed for. It's the Hedgehog game. I still love as well, just for anyone that missed it, is like, Carl, just explain the Werehog.
Really? Okay. So, in Sonic Unleashed, which is like probably one of the edgiest Sonic games, which is saying something for the Sonic franchise, the gimmick of that game is that Sonic becomes a werehog, which means he becomes like, you know, a hedgehog. That's also a werewolf. The problem is that werehog is not the right word to use grammatically, because were means like both or something like that.
Right.
So to become a werehog, like that means he'd actually it'd be the werewolf, it'd be the hedgehog version of a werewolf. He should be a werewolf because he turns into a half wolf, half hedgehog, so he should be a werewolf. But they call him the werehog, but he has wolf attributes, which is wrong.
Like if a human was a werehog, it would be someone that could transform into a hedgehog.
Or a half hedgehog hybrid, yes. So when Sonic becomes a werehog, he should either turn into a human or become a double hedgehog.
He just becomes a hedgehog that can turn into a hedgehog.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But it's just that's one of those things of, did they think about it more than not? No, they didn't. They just thought it was a cool word. Now that's also where they put the word in of like, he has like the Shoryuken, and they call it the Werehog Huken. And it's like, fuck off. It's a Shoryuken.
But yeah, that just always tickles me, is like, the etymology of werehog literally means that he'd just be turning into a hedgehog.
Yeah. But he's already a hedgehog, so he should be a double hedgehog.
So he should be a werewolf. But that doesn't sound as fun to marketing.
No.
But yeah, I guess just, you know, thank you all for listening, and let us know which wiki won this week. Thank you all.
Hell yeah.